You know, for the better part of a century, the rules of the sky have been, well, pretty stable. But that's all changing. Right now, we're in the middle of a massive turbulent shift that's going to change literally everything about how we fly. So let's break down this revolution in aviation.
So let's start with a pretty basic question. Who actually owns the rules of the sky? It sounds simple, right? But the answer has governed global travel for 80 years. I mean, think about it. How do thousands of planes from hundreds of different countries share the same airspace safely every single day? To get that answer, we've got to go all the way back to 1944.
And the answer is an organization called the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. The easiest way to think about it is like the UN, but for aviation. It creates the global grammar book that everyone agrees to follow. It's all about ensuring safety and cooperation. It's literally the reason a pilot from Japan can understand instructions from an air traffic controller in Brazil. Now, while the ICAO sets the global stage, two main players have historically directed the show: America's FAA and Europe's EASA. For decades, their standards have been the gold standard. They have slightly different approaches, though. The FAA often takes a more flexible, performance-based approach, setting goals for the industry to meet. EASA, on the other hand, is more about a single, unified legal framework across all its member states. But here's the thing. This established order is now facing some really serious headwinds.
So let's start with the first source of this turbulence, and it's coming from the pilots themselves. They are on the front lines every day, and they have some major concerns about the direction the industry is heading.
This quote from the president of IFALPA, which is the Global Federation for Pilots, gets right to the human element. His message is absolutely crystal clear. As automation gets better and better, pilots are pushing back hard against ideas like single-pilot cockpits. For them, it's simple. Safety has to come before cutting costs. Period. And listen, this isn't just a few scattered voices. The data shows that pilots are incredibly organized and engaged. A recent global survey had a 63% response rate from pilot associations all over the world. That's huge. They are actively working to make sure their professional experience is heard loud and clear by regulators.
So what are they focused on? It's not just about automation. They're flagging the need for a positive safety culture, where you can report issues without fear. They're concerned about fatigue, about training standards, and even broader issues like social sustainability and gender representation in the cockpit. These are fundamental challenges to the health of the entire profession.
Okay, so that's the view from the cockpit. Now let's shift gears to the second major force reshaping the skies, the urgent global demand for a greener way to fly. The pressure to decarbonize is just immense, and it's forcing a complete rethink of what powers our planes.
The industry's big bet right now is on sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. This is essentially a biofuel made from things like waste oils or even wood residues that can be used in existing jet engines. It's the single most important tool aviation has to reduce its carbon footprint in the near term.
And this isn't just some vague aspiration. Governments are now making it law. This timeline really shows how quickly things are escalating. Starting with just 2% in the UK in 2025, the requirements ramp up aggressively, hitting a whopping 70% in the EU by 2050. That creates guaranteed demand, which forces the entire market to respond. But here's the catch. Building the refineries to make all this SAF costs billions of dollars. And as this quote highlights, the problem isn't the engineering anymore. It's about policy consistency. Investors need to feel confident that the rules aren't going to suddenly change. The technology is ready, the airlines are demanding it, but political uncertainty can stall the huge investments needed to actually build out the supply.
Okay, so on top of pressure from pilots and environmentalists, there's a third revolution happening: the technology of the aircraft itself. We are on the verge of a whole new category of vehicles taking to the skies.
Welcome to the world of advanced air mobility, or AAM. What you're looking at is an eVTOL, an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. Just think of it as a quiet electric air taxi that could one day hop between city rooftops, bypassing traffic on the ground completely. Pretty cool, right?
So how are these new designs even possible? Well, a key technology is called distributed electric propulsion. Instead of two big jet engines, you have many smaller electric motors. This not only makes things more efficient, but it also adds layers of safety through redundancy. And it lets designers create these radical new shapes that just weren't possible before.
And I have to say it again, this isn't science fiction.
dozens of companies are moving these wild concepts off the drawing board and into the real world. Certification efforts with regulators like the FAA and EASA are already in full swing, trying to turn these visions into a tangible new form of transportation.
But the challenges are enormous. I mean, it's not just about building the aircraft. Where do they fly? How do you fit them into the world's busiest skies? Where do they land and recharge? We're going to need brand new vertiports. Can our city power grids even handle fleets of electric aircraft charging all at once? And maybe the biggest one, who's the workforce that's going to fly, fix, and manage this entirely new ecosystem? These are massive questions that need answers.
Now for the final and perhaps most profound disruption. While the West is grappling with all these challenges, a fundamental geopolitical shift is happening. A new regulatory superpower is rising.
I mean, think about it. For as long as modern aviation has existed, the rules, the technology, and the standards have been defined by the FAA and EASA. The world flew on their terms. Well, that era is now ending.
This quote captures a really pivotal moment. Brunei, and others since, has started to accept certifications from the Civil Aviation Administration of China, or CAAC. This is a huge deal. It means for the first time, there's a credible alternative to the Western regulators, and that creates a whole new sphere of influence in global aviation.
And this isn't just a copy of the Western model. The CAA operates on a completely different philosophy. While the FAA and EASA are methodical and cautious, China is focused on live deployment and learning at a massive scale. They are building their expertise not in theory, but through real-world operational experience.
So what's driving this? Drones. An estimated 70 to 90% of the world's commercial drones are Chinese-made. This has given the CAAC an unbelievable amount of data and experience in managing unmanned, automated flight, experience that no other regulator on Earth possesses.
And this is all part of a national strategy. China is actively building what they call a low-altitude economy. They're not treating drones, air taxis, and traditional planes as separate problems. They are creating one integrated system to manage it all, learning and iterating in cities like Shenzhen at a pace the West simply cannot match.
So, the sky of tomorrow is arriving, and it is arriving fast. But it leaves us with a really big question. Will these new technologies and these new powers connect our world or divide it? The future of flight is being written right now. The established order is over. The only question that remains is not what the future of aviation will look like, but who will get to write its rules.